If you're tired of spending a fortune on your daily Starbucks fix, then this video is for you. I'm sharing 10 recipes for popular Starbucks drinks that you can make in the comfort of your own home. These are Starbucks drinks that are so easy to make that it's a no-brainer to DIY. Not only will you be able to satisfy your caffeine cravings, but you can also save some serious cash. So grab your favorite mug and let's get started. The first Starbucks drink that you should absolutely be making at home is the classic Caffe Latte. The standard Starbucks Caffe Latte actually only contains 2 simple ingredients: coffee and milk. And from there you can customize to your heart's content. But these are the 3 ingredients that I always like to include: espresso or strongly brewed coffee. There are so many options when it comes to coffee. You can use espresso roast coffee beans, ground coffee, instant coffee, etc. The method you use to brew or extract the coffee will of course affect the kind of coffee that you choose. By the way, Starbucks uses their blonde espresso for their vanilla latte, so keep that in mind. Of course, you'll also need milk. Starbucks uses 2% for their classic latte, but I prefer whole milk or even whole milk plus a little cream. But feel free to use your personal favorite milk. Skim milk will make for a foamier latte, but of course it will be less creamy. And finally, vanilla syrup or a sweetener of choice. The sweetener is optional, but I prefer my latte with a little bit of sweetness. Vanilla syrup is a classic pairing, but you could substitute maple syrup, honey, simple syrup, brown sugar, coconut sugar, etc. If you want that vanilla flavor but you don't have any vanilla syrup on hand, you can add a bit of vanilla extract to your sweetener. Now, the beauty of making this at home is you can adjust the ratios of coffee and milk to your desired preferences. But I'll have Starbucks ratios of coffee, milk, and sweetener in the description in case you want to closely recreate that taste. Okay, to make the drink, you're going to start by making the coffee. Now, if you happen to own an espresso machine, of course, you can simply pull a shot or 2 of espresso for this drink. But if you don't own an espresso maker, no worries. It's actually pretty easy to make espresso strength coffee without a machine. Make sure to check out my video tutorial for detailed instructions on how to make espresso with a mocha pot, French press, AeroPress, or even instant coffee. Now, it won't be true espresso because these techniques use a different method for extracting the coffee, but it still makes for a delicious homemade latte that rivals Starbucks. Whichever method you use, you'll want to place the coffee in a 12 to 16 ounce mug. Then add your sweetener of choice if using. I personally like 1.5 teaspoons of syrup for a 12-ounce latte, but if you like a sweeter drink, you might want to use up to 1.5 tablespoons. Now it's time to froth the milk. Again, if you own an espresso machine, you can simply froth the milk with the built-in steam wand. But if you don't own a machine with a frother, there are several other ways to get your milk frothy. You'll first need to heat your milk of choice separately. I like to warm my milk in a small saucepan over medium heat to around 155 Fahrenheit or 68 Celsius. You should make sure to check out my video tutorial with 8 ways to froth milk without a machine, but real quickly, here are a few methods. A handheld stick frother is pretty low profile and fairly affordable. Another option is to use a French press to froth your milk, or you can even just shake the milk in a heat-proof glass jar. Make sure to hold the jar with a towel to avoid spills and burns. Okay, now for the best part. Pour the frothed milk over the espresso or coffee in the mug. You can practice your latte art or simply dump the frothy milk on top. This one will save you around $4 per drink to make it at home, depending on the size of drink that you make and the quality of ingredients that you use. This next recipe is perfect when you're feeling under the weather and craving a soothing drink. And with just 5 simple ingredients and about 10 minutes of your time, you can easily recreate this comforting drink in your own kitchen. This drink actually originated as a secret menu item, but Starbucks actually decided to turn it into a regular menu item. But they named it Honey Citrus Mint Tea instead of Medicine Ball Tea. It's made from steamed lemonade, water, jade citrus mint tea, peach tranquility tea, and a honey blend. I went to Starbucks and ordered it for myself so that I could properly recreate the taste. I felt that you could really taste the lemon, and the peach flavor was also really nice. I asked how they made the tea and they said they used half lemonade, half water, so that's how I recreated the recipe at home. Okay, let's quickly go over the ingredients that you'll need. 3/4 cup of lemonade. I'll also show you how to make this with just lemon juice and honey later on. 3/4 cup of water, a citrus mint green tea bag. Now, as far as I know, Starbucks uses Teavana teas in their drinks, and here they use the jade mint green tea. This is a blend of organic green tea, organic spearmint, organic lemon verbena, organic lemongrass, and natural flavor. But you don't have to buy this specific tea to recreate this at home. Any green tea with mint and lemon will do the trick. I like the Tazo Organic Zen green tea, which has all those flavors and it's fair trade. You'll also need a peach chamomile tea bag. Again, Starbucks uses the Teavana Peach Tranquility Tea. But again, you don't have to purchase this particular peach tea. Look for a peach tea that contains chamomile. And finally, you'll need 1 teaspoon of honey. Okay, start by placing the lemonade and water in a saucepan and bringing that to a boil over the stove. Meanwhile, place the 2 tea bags in a 12-ounce mug. When the lemonade and water are boiling, pour that over the tea bags. Set the timer for 3 minutes or the amount of time that's recommended on the box for your tea to steep. After the tea is done steeping, mix in the honey. Now the way Starbucks serves this tea is they leave the tea bags in. You can either sip without removing the tea bags or take them out before enjoying. If you don't want to purchase a bottle of lemonade, you can actually just use lemon juice and increase the amount of water and honey. So leave out the lemonade, add 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, increase the water to 1 1/3 cups, and increase the honey to 1 tablespoon. This way you're using fresh ingredients and you don't have to specially buy pre-made lemonade. At Starbucks, a tall honey citrus mint tea will set you back around $3.50 before tax and tips. If you make it at home, it will be less than half the price at around $1.30. If you're an iced coffee lover, then you've got to make this next drink, the sweet cream cold brew. Starbucks sweet cream is a blend of milk, cream, and sweetener that's whipped until it's somewhat thickened, but not so thick that it won't blend with the coffee. It kind of has the consistency of lightly whipped cream. It's a pretty brilliant invention in my opinion because it adds a lovely creaminess and frothiness to your iced coffee, but it mixes with the coffee better than traditional whipped cream. To make vanilla sweet cream at home, place 3 tablespoons of heavy cream in a glass or small measuring cup. Add 1 tablespoon of whole milk, 1 tablespoon of pure maple syrup, and a few drops of vanilla extract. You could also substitute vanilla syrup for the sweetener and leave out the vanilla extract. Whip this mixture with a handheld milk frother until it thickens slightly and increases in volume. Resist the urge to whip it too much, otherwise it will be too thick to mix with the coffee and it will just sit on top of your drink. This can also be accomplished with a blender or a stick blender, but the results will probably be different. As far as I know, Starbucks uses a special blender or blender attachment to make their sweet cream, so you may find it challenging to get the same results with a regular blender. Okay, to make the drink, fill a 12-ounce cup about 1/2 to 2/3 full of ice. Pour cold brew on top to fill about 1/2 to 2/3 full. By the way, I have a video tutorial for how to easily make cold brew with a French press, so make sure to check that out if you'd like to try your hand at making your own cold brew. Pour the sweet cream foam over your coffee and watch the magic happen. Please note that I use less sweetener than Starbucks here, so feel free to increase if you prefer it sweeter. You can also change up the flavor by switching out which sweetener you use. For a salted caramel flavor, you can use caramel syrup and add a tiny pinch of salt, or you could do chocolate syrup, cinnamon syrup, etc. This is one of the best Starbucks drinks in my opinion, and now you know how to easily recreate it at home. This next drink is perfect for tea lovers or for coffee lovers who'd like to branch out and try a new way to get some caffeine. A London Fog Latte is simply a tea latte made with Earl Grey tea and frothed milk with the optional addition of vanilla syrup and lavender. In case you've never had it before, Earl Grey tea is a black tea that's flavored with bergamot orange oil. It has a distinct flavor which is better experienced than described. I would say that it's definitely on the floral end. Okay, to make this tea latte, here's everything that you'll need. 2 Earl Grey tea bags or 4 teaspoons of loose leaf Earl Grey tea, 1 teaspoon of organic dried lavender, which is optional but enhances the experience. Please make sure to source food-grade organic lavender. If you aren't keen on a lavender flavor, you can either omit this or drop the amount down to 1/4 teaspoon. 1/3 cup of boiling water, 1 teaspoon of pure maple syrup or vanilla syrup. If you use maple syrup or another sweetener but you'd like that vanilla flavor, simply add a few drops of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. 1/2 cup of whole milk and 1/4 cup of cream. Place the Earl Grey tea and lavender in a tea strainer. If you're using tea bags, put the lavender in the strainer by itself and the bags next to it. Pour the boiling water over the tea. Cover and let it steep for 5 minutes. Squeeze out the tea bags if using those. Remove tea leaves or lavender as well. Add the maple syrup or vanilla syrup. Now it's time to froth the milk and cream. The reason I don't use just milk is because the base of the drink has quite a bit of water, and to get that rich flavor, it's best to add some cream. Feel free to use 1/2 and 1/2 if that's what you have on hand. You can froth your milk with an espresso machine if you have one, or use one of the methods that I mentioned earlier. If you're heating your milk over the stove, heat it to 155 degrees Fahrenheit or 68 degrees Celsius. Okay, pour your frothed milk over the tea in the mug. You can sprinkle lavender flowers on top for garnish if you wish. This is such a lovely tea latte with unexpected flavors. Now, if you're a matcha fan, you know that the hot matcha latte is such a classic. And thankfully, it's an easy drink to make at home. You'll only need 4 ingredients. 1 teaspoon of matcha powder. Make sure that you source a high quality matcha powder for the best flavor. If you cheap out here, your matcha will taste bitter and dull. I recommend either the Thrive Market Ceremonial or Encha Matcha Ceremonial grade matchas because they taste great and they're a great price. Okay, you'll also need 1 teaspoon of sugar, honey, or maple syrup. Starbucks uses sugar in their matcha latte, so use that for the most accurate recreation. 1 tablespoon of warm water and 3/4 cup of whole milk. Measure out your matcha and sugar into a mug. Pour 1 tablespoon of warm water that's no more than 170 degrees Fahrenheit or 76 degrees Celsius on top of the matcha. You can also use cold or room temperature water, but the warm water won't cool down your drink. Whisk everything together using a matcha whisk for 20 seconds or until all clumps of matcha are dissolved. Now, this can be accomplished without a matcha whisk, but it's going to be a lot more effort. If you plan on drinking matcha regularly, then I highly recommend investing in a chasen. I'll have a couple of options linked in the description. Okay, now it's time to froth your milk. You know the drill. Now just pour the frothed milk over the matcha mixture, and you can get fancy with latte art if you like. And there you have a matcha tea latte. That was so simple. Full disclosure, I like my matcha latte to have a stronger matcha flavor, so I use a higher ratio of matcha to milk. But this is really similar to the Starbucks version, and it's perfect for people who either prefer a milder matcha flavor or who are just dipping their toes into the world of matcha. Now that you know how to make the hot version, the iced matcha latte will be super easy to learn. This is probably my top favorite drink available at Starbucks. Okay, there's only 2 extra ingredients for this drink: cream and ice. We'll start out the same way that we did with the hot matcha latte. Whisk together 1 to 2 teaspoons of matcha, 1 to 2 teaspoons of sugar, and this time 4 tablespoons of water until smooth. Again, I prefer the higher amount of matcha in my iced latte, so feel free to increase if you prefer a more punchy matcha flavor. If you're somewhere in the middle, use 1.5 teaspoons of matcha and sugar. Now add some ice to a 16-ounce glass. Pour 3/4 cup of milk and 1/4 cup of cream over the ice. The cream is optional, but I think that it enhances this drink. Pour the matcha mixture on top and watch the gorgeous swirl action. At Starbucks, they make this drink by shaking everything together in a bottle. However, that method leaves little bits of unmixed matcha in the drink, so I don't really recommend it. At Starbucks, this drink is about $6 with taxes and tips, but you can make it at home for less than half that price. Now, if you're an oat milk fan, this next drink is definitely one that you'll want to try to make at home. In my opinion, my homemade version tastes way better than Starbucks, unless they've changed the recipe since I've tried it. Okay, here are the simple ingredients you'll need to make an elevated oat milk latte. 1 shot of espresso or 2 tablespoons of strongly brewed coffee. Again, check out my guide for making espresso if you don't own an espresso machine. 1 to 3 teaspoons of honey or maple syrup. For a honey oat milk latte, you can simply use honey for the sweetener, but maple syrup is quite nice as well. Any flavored syrup should work as well, but I like the natural sweetness of the honey. I've never tried it with agave syrup, but I'm sure it would work here as well. You could even mix it up by using caramel syrup, hazelnut syrup, etc. A pinch of unrefined sea salt. Adding a little bit, and we're talking a tiny pinch of sea salt, helps to make this drink more flavorful. Vanilla extract. I like a vanilla oat milk latte because it's just the flavor that I associate with lattes. You could also use a bit of vanilla bean paste, and of course you'll want to leave this out if you use vanilla syrup or another flavored coffee syrup. And 3/4 cup of oat milk. Personally, I find that oat milk is the best plant-based milk for coffee drinks. I've tried almond milk and coconut milk, and they just don't compare in my opinion. I've tried a couple of different barista blend oat milks, and I think that Califia Farms is a little better than Oatly. But I accidentally stumbled upon something even better. If you mix together half Califia Farms barista blend and half Thrive Market oat milk, the blend is perfect for lattes. Also, you can make a DIY barista blend by adding 1 teaspoon of a neutral flavored oil and a pinch of sea salt to 3/4 cup of regular oat milk. Here you can see the side-by-side of what the barista blend and the DIY barista blend look like while they're being frothed. The store-bought barista blend is on the left and the homemade version is on the right. And here they are side by side being poured into the mug. I actually like the DIY version just as much, if not better, than the store-bought version. Now, the best way to froth oat milk will likely be with a fancy espresso machine, but you can also get it to pump up by using a hand pump frother, French press, or handheld stick frother. Again, I much prefer this homemade version over what Starbucks has to offer. While we're talking about oat milk, let me show you another drink that's really easy to DIY, the brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso. When I got this from Starbucks, I was actually impressed with the flavors. It wasn't sickeningly sweet, and I thought that the coffee actually paired really well with the brown sugar and cinnamon. It almost tasted like graham crackers to me. Now, Starbucks uses a brown sugar syrup to sweeten theirs, but I wanted a simplified recipe that didn't require making a specialty syrup. To make it, simply place 2 teaspoons of brown sugar and 1/16 to 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon in a 12 to 16 ounce jar. Pour 2 shots of espresso or 1/4 cup of really strong coffee on top. Add about 6 cubes of ice to your jar, or fill about 3/4 full. Put the lid on and shake until the espresso is frothy. Since you're pouring hot espresso on top of the brown sugar and shaking it well, the brown sugar will dissolve and you don't need to make the syrup separately. Now, if you're planning on making this drink often, you can pretty easily make a brown sugar simple syrup at home, and I'll have the recipe in the description. I would suggest using 1 to 2 tablespoons of syrup and adjusting from there. Whichever sweetener you decide on, it's time to pour 1/2 cup of oat milk on top. Isn't that lovely? Again, as far as I know, Starbucks uses Oatly oat milk, but any barista blend oat milk should work here. You'll probably want to skip the DIY barista blend here because the oil won't emulsify as well in a cold drink. You can also just shake all the ingredients in a jar at once if you don't want to shake the espresso and sweetener together separately. Okay, if you're a coffee lover that also loves a good cup of hot cocoa, this next recipe is for you. A cafe mocha is basically a classic latte with a splash of chocolate added, so you never have to choose between your favorite drinks again. To make one at home, place 1 shot of espresso in a 12 to 16 ounce mug. Heat 8 ounces of whole milk along with 3 tablespoons of chocolate syrup to around 135 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're heating over the stove, make sure to stir occasionally to prevent the chocolate syrup from burning. If you don't have any chocolate syrup on hand, you can also substitute 1.5 tablespoons of cocoa powder and 2 to 3 teaspoons of sweetener. It's more of a pain to get it to mix with the milk, but then you don't have to buy or make a specialty syrup. Froth the hot milk and chocolate mixture using your preferred method. Of course, if you own an espresso machine, you can simply steam the milk and syrup together to heat and froth at the same time. Now pour the frothed chocolate milk over the espresso in the mug. Top with whipped cream if desired to make this into an extra decadent drink. And finally, we have the iconic Starbucks chai tea latte. Now, before any chai purists jump on me, I am well aware that saying chai tea latte is abundantly redundant. Also, this is in no way trying to be authentic masala chai. This is simply a recreation of the popular Starbucks drink called a chai tea latte. Anyway, to make it at home, you'll need 2 chai tea bags or 4 teaspoons of loose leaf chai tea. I have a video where I taste tested 10 different chai brands, so I could give a really good recommendation for y'all. So check that out if you're in the market for a good chai brand. 1/2 cup of boiling water, 3/4 cup of whole milk. I like to use whole milk to ensure a creamy latte. I do not recommend using low-fat or fat-free milk. 2 to 6 teaspoons of a sweetener of choice. Yes, this is a wide range of sweetness because I know that people have different sweetness preferences. I personally like a chai latte that's less sweet, but the Starbucks version is definitely on the sweeter side. I like to use maple syrup as the sweetener, but you could also use sugar, honey, coconut sugar, simple syrup, brown sugar, etc. 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger. Here's where the magic comes in. The Starbucks chai latte is a little bit spicy, which I really like. To add that kick of heat, you'll want to add some extra ginger to your latte. You can also add 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon or your personal favorite of the chai spices to boost the flavors even more. A few drops of vanilla extract. This is optional, but the Starbucks chai concentrate does contain vanilla, so you can add a few drops of vanilla extract to recreate that flavor profile. Or you could simply use vanilla syrup to sweeten your latte to cut out an extra ingredient. By the way, I have a recipe for homemade vanilla syrup if you're interested in making your own. Okay, to make the chai latte, place 2 tea bags in a 12-ounce mug. Next, pour the boiling water on top of the tea bags. Cover with a plate and allow to steep for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, squeeze out the tea bags. Yes, I realize that this is controversial. Add your sweetener of choice and the vanilla extract if using. Pour the milk into a frothing pitcher and add the ground ginger. Steam to your desired temperature and pour over the brewed tea and sweetener in the mug. Again, if you don't own an espresso machine, you can heat the milk and ginger over the stove and froth a different way. Now another option for making this chai latte at home is to use a store-bought chai concentrate. Each concentrate is going to be a little bit different in strength, but I personally like a 1:2 ratio of chai concentrate to milk, or half and half. So to make a 12-ounce chai latte, you would use half a cup of chai concentrate and 1 cup of milk, or half and half. The thing I don't like about pre-made chai concentrates is they're often pre-sweetened, which means you can't control the sweetness level without adding more milk, which waters down the chai flavors in the drink. But they do make it super quick and easy to make this chai latte at home. Also, I have a recipe for a homemade chai concentrate, and that recipe, along with the rest of the recipes in this video, will be in the description. If you pick one new drink from this video to learn each month or so, by the end of the year, you'll gain the skills to make 10 Starbucks drinks at home, and you'll be able to keep more of your hard-earned cash in your wallet. All right, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and here's that guide for how to froth milk at home without an espresso machine. Okay, to make and it's perfect. Yeah, you can simply steam the milk 10 different. I do not for how to froth milk.